welcome back to the Week in Review podcast. This is Megan Holman, news editor and head of podcasting. Thanks for joining us. Today we have with us photo editor Amanda Britt, news reporter Christina Cascabas, beat news reporter Alyssa Martinez, and multimedia reporter Bianca Hoops. First, we're going to hear from Amanda about Garnet Stokes' exciting events last week. So, Amanda, I heard that University of New Mexico president took flight last week and landed in Johnson Field. What happened?
On October 1st, UNM's president, Garnet Stokes, jumped 9,000 feet out of an airplane with the Golden Knights, the U.S. Army's elite parachute demonstration team.
Wow, Amanda, that sounds really exciting. Who hosted the event?
The event was hosted by the UNM ROTC program. The jump raised awareness for UNM's ROTC.
And what did Stokes have to say about this experience?
Stokes went through a safety briefing and ground training before flying high above Albuquerque. Stokes said the fall was almost indescribable. Quote, "You're just falling, but it feels like you're floating on air." Unquote. Stokes told this to the UNM newsroom.
And now, on a different note, Kendra Kovu, political science professor, recently passed away. This story was reported on by managing editor Michaela Grijalva and beat news reporter Beatrice Nisoli. So, Amanda, Kendra Kovu was a vital member of the UNM community. Can you tell me a little bit about her contributions, either academically or personally?
The political science department and the university as a whole will remember her for her many academic contributions, but also for her fire and passion as a person.
It is my understanding that Kovu set up a scholarship fund before her passing. How much has this scholarship gathered?
Missed by all, Kendra's memory is being honored with a scholarship fund in her name, which has already gathered more than $18,000.
Wow, that's amazing. How will she be remembered?
The political science department was closed on October 3rd, the day of her remembrance services. Kendra had been a part of the UNM community since 2012 and was described by colleagues as having sisu, Finnish for grit and always being true to herself. She'll be remembered for that.
And the last story Amanda will be sharing with us today is recent research that a UNM professor has done on vaping. UN Beat News reporter Lissa Knutson recently reported on the health crisis surrounding vape. Can you tell me a little bit about why concerns about the practice have become so severe?
The Center for Disease Control announced on September 26 there were 805 confirmed cases of lung injuries in the United States as a result of vaping, including 12 confirmed deaths.
Wow, this is really serious. So what role did UNM play in the research surrounding the topic?
A study published in the Journal of Clinical Investigation found vaping to impair lung function in the absence of nicotine. Matthew Campen, a professor in the Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences at UNM, contributed to the study. He said THC might have something to do with the lung injuries because THC is a Schedule I drug. Therefore, it is difficult to do research with it.
A lot of people don't seem to believe that vaping concerns are legitimate. What did the research show when it came to this?
Well, while cigarettes cause lung cancer, vaping causes more immediate diseases like pneumonia and immunosuppression, according to Dr. McHaney. McHaney is an Albuquerque-based and the immediate past president of the American Medical Association. We also reported that the specific chemical compounds in the vaping liquid is unknown, but Dr. McHaney asserted that vaping is unsafe, especially for young people.
And now we're going to hear a little bit more about recent culture stories from Christina. Can you tell us a little bit about the annual Observe the Moon Night here in Albuquerque? Who hosts this yearly observation?
Yes, every year the New Mexico Museum of Natural History and Science hosts an Observe the Moon event.
When is this event held every year, and what part of the moon phase do attendees get to observe?
The event happens either in September or October every year. The moon is observed in its first quarter. The first quarter is good for observation in the evening.
Were attendees able to observe anything else in the night sky while they were there?
The evening started off with some rain, but it cleared up quickly. People of all ages turned out for the event. Those who attended had the opportunity to view Jupiter as well.
Wow, that sounds like something I'd like to go to. All right, now can you tell us about culture reporter Caitlin Scott's most recent work on the Albuquerque Zine Fest? What exactly is a zine?
Zine is a self-published magazine or booklet for people to show off their literature and artwork.
That sounds really cool. Where did the Zine Fest occur this year, and what was it all about?
The Zine Fest took place at National Hispanic Culture Center. It's been happening for 8 years, making this its 9th year. The ABQZF, or Albuquerque Zine Fest, has created a non-competitive, diverse, queer-friendly, and creative environment for such artists for almost a decade.
And what group of people did this event draw?
This is an event for anyone who is interested in comics, traditional art, magazines, clothing, accessories, and supporting local artists. If you are interested in going next year, it will happen on October 3rd, 2020. You can find out more on abqzf.com.
Thank you, Christina. And now we're going to hear from Alyssa about the most recent news in ASUNM. Last week, you and Beat News reporter Alex Height reported on ASUNM. What big things happened in undergraduate student government last week?
So last week, the Associated Students of the University of New Mexico Steering and Rules Committee approved a constitutional amendment that would effectively raise student fees from $20 to $25. The bill was drafted by Finance Chair Gregory Romero and Steering and Rules Vice Chair Ryan Regalado.
It's my understanding that the committee voted on this movement last week. Did anyone abstain or say no?
So the bill was passed 3-1, with one abstention by Senator Ashley Varela and one nay by Senator Abby Aldrich.
And were students outside of ASUNM consulted before this motion was made?
So when asked whether or not senators had talked with any students before the committee meeting last week, Senator Varela said, quote, "No, I mentioned it to some of my friends that are not in ASUNM, but other than that, I don't know of other people that have been consulted," unquote. Other senators in the committee meeting acknowledged that they hadn't asked for student input before voting on the bill. Senators in the Steering and Rules Committee acknowledged that the student body may not be enthusiastic about the fee raise, with Steering and Rules Chair Emma Hott saying it is, quote, "very likely the students will not like this," unquote, and that their main focus will be, quote, "educating," unquote, the students on why the change is needed.
That all sounds really complicated. When will the official vote be made?
The amendment is set to be voted on Wednesday, October 9th, during their full Senate meeting.
Thanks, Alyssa, for bringing us This Week in ASUNM. You also wrote another story this week about SWAP. What is SWAP?
The Southwest Organizing Project, also known as SWAP, is a nonprofit, community-based group which focuses on organizing and empowering la gente, the people, to achieve social and economic justice as well as racial and gender equality.
That's really interesting. Can you tell me a little bit more about what the nonprofit does for our community?
So according to the executive director of SWAP, George Lujan, SWAP does this through education, organizing, and events. SWAP doesn't just try to remedy surface-level social maladies, but rather uses these familiar issues to get to the root problems that New Mexican communities deal with, such as hunger or homelessness. SWAP then works to affix them with larger global initiatives.
That seems like important work. What events has SWAP put on recently?
The annual Chili Harvest Fiesta was one of SWAP's most recent events. It showcased New Mexican culture by hosting local musicians, artists, vendors, and a green chili stew cook-off, allowing for the community to connect and discuss social issues.
And overall, what are SWAP's goals and campaigns?
Overall, SWAP's goal is to uplift one's sense of identity of who you are and who your community is. Currently, SWAP has 6 major campaigns: SWAP Youth Group, NM Con Mujeres, Project Feed the Hood, SWAP Environmental Justice, Universidad Sin Fronteras, and Arriba, New Mexico. And when I interviewed them, they indicated that they're always open to new suggestions.
Thanks, Alyssa, for bringing us those stories for this week. Now we're going to hear from Bianca, who's going to tell us everything you need to know about UA-UNM. Recently, Editor-in-Chief Justin Garcia and Managing Editor Michaela Grijalva reported on the events that have been unfolding for UNM's potential faculty union this month. What events have been unfolding? What's been going on?
Professors and instructors will make a historical decision later this month. They are getting ready to vote on whether they want a collective bargaining unit to represent them.
That sounds like a big vote. How would this potential union impact the university?
How the union will impact the university is still unclear. According to Provost James Holloway, quote, "A union will not solve any of the pressing issues that challenge UNM," unquote.
All right, I guess we'll just have to see how things unfold. So, when exactly did the union begin?
The union effort officially began earlier this year in February.
And what specifically will be voted on, Bianca?
The faculty will be voting on 2 collective bargaining units to represent the 2 parts of the faculty, full-time and part-time.
I guess we'll find out on October 16th and 17th whether this is going to happen or not. But who all does the union include and who all does the union exclude?
Well, it's easier to tell you who the union excludes. 2 groups are excluded from the union: Health Sciences Center faculty and staff who also work as faculty at UNM.
Thanks for sharing those stories with us, Bianca. Now let's get some quick news about the success of the women's soccer team from sports editor Alani Rael.
Hi, Megan.
The Lobo women's soccer team has been holding a strong record for conference play this season. Can you expand more on the team's big weekend?
The women's soccer team currently holds a 7-4-0 record after back-to-back wins against the University of Nevada and UNLV. UNM beat the Nevada Wolfpack 3-1 and UNLV 3-2 last weekend. After the weekend's wins, New Mexico is ranked number 2 in the Mountain West Conference, right behind Boise State, holding the number 1 spot. Just to add on to their success, the win against Nevada marks the 50th career win for head coach Heather Dyke. This is big for the team and the head coach as well.
And did any of the New Mexico soccer players make the Mountain West Player of the Week list after their back-to-back wins?
Yeah, so Lobo player Leilani Baker was named Offensive Player of the Week in the Mountain West. She was granted the totaled 5 points for the weekend with 2 goals, including the game-winning goal against UNLV and an assist. That's a direct quote from the Mountain West website.
The original story was reported on by Colin Pena, a beat reporter for the Daily Lobo. And now the last story that I'm going to share with you all tonight is a story that Beat News reporter Colin Pena and I wrote about last week. The 516 Art Gallery here in Albuquerque currently has an exhibit focused on species in peril. The gallery focuses on the biological crisis through the lens of the Rio Grande watershed, one of the most biologically diverse areas on the planet. The exhibit includes paintings, prints, sculptures, and multimodal pieces. Co-curator and UNM professor of art and ecology, Subhankar Banerjee, says the biological crisis is connected to the climate crisis, though not as widely known. Despite this, the biological crisis is expansive and impacts at least 1 million species here on Earth, Banerjee says, which is more than half of the world's known species. Many of these species could be extinct within decades. These mass die-offs and extinctions, he says, are due to humans. The gallery, which includes more than 20 artists, brings the community together to become educated and moreover to take action, with satellite exhibits all along the Rio Grande, both in the United States and Mexico. This is a cross-culture and multinational effort. Banerjee says it is essential to note the leadership role indigenous communities in the area played in creating the exhibit because it is their land and home that is being impacted. The 1,885-mile-long river connects us, Banerjee explained. The art exhibit is another way to provide social commentary on such a critical and time-sensitive issue. Well, that's all we have for you this week. Next week, keep an eye out for the first episode of The Cactus, which focuses on the history of the Daily Lobo. It will be coming out on October 15th. From all of us here at the Daily Lobo, thanks for tuning in.